All right, let's start our extra point this morning with a thought experiment. The local news guy is going to turn this into an episode of Dora the Explorer for a second. Raise your hand if you're familiar with the dangers of drunk driving. How about the carcinogenic chemicals in cigarettes or the long-term risks associated with obesity? It's safe to say that none of that is news to us. Still, those messages get pounded into our heads on a near daily basis, whether it's billboards or commercials or health snippets on the local news. Can hearing those warnings over and over again get a little annoying? Sure, but I think we've all generally accepted that those reminders are important, and if just one person is deterred from destructive behavior, if one life is saved, then it's worth it. Raise your hand if you knew that storm surge is the leading cause of fatalities in tropical cyclones. Be honest, I sure didn't. But I do know now. You know why? Because we've been incessantly discussing a hurricane 2,200 miles away that has no direct impact on the state of Arizona. You see, there's a purpose to what we're doing, and I mean we as an industry, not just 12 News. We're not fawning over Florence to promote scare tactics or drive ratings. We have a duty to inform, an oath to report, an obligation to prepare our viewership for a potential crisis. If that crisis never comes to pass, that's great, and it certainly beats the alternative, like the hundreds of inmates who drowned or starved to death when they were left behind during Hurricane Katrina, or the thousands of American citizens who passed in Puerto Rico after Maria knocked out power for weeks and in some areas months. Watches and warnings save lives, and data supports that statement. An academic paper published by the National Hurricane Center suggests damage to death ratios are linked to advances in technology. Storms are getting more destructive, but fewer people are dying because they know a storm is coming. In 2012, storm surge from Hurricane Sandy claimed 41 lives. 3 Category 4 hurricanes made landfall in the U.S. last year. You know how many storm surge deaths there were? 0. 2017 just so happened to be the first year the National Weather Service issued storm surge watches and warnings along the continental coast after a decade of tweaking and testing that system. Mankind is nearly powerless against an adversary as cruel and uncaring as nature can be. But our constant coverage is an attempt to prevent catastrophe in the Carolinas. If you're sick of hearing about it, good. That means the message is getting through. Raise your hand if you'd rather be annoyed than dead.